Tom and Jerry is the brand new HBO Max, Warner Media in theaters and on HBO Max film. The film's about a legendary rivalry reemerges when Jerry moves into New York City's finest hotel on the eve of the wedding of the century, forcing the desperate event planner to hire Tom to get rid of him. As mayhem ensues, the escalating cat and mouse battle soon threatens to destroy her career, the wedding, and possibly the hotel itself. This film stars Chloe Grace Moretz, Michael Pena, Colin Jost, Ken Jeong, and is 1 hour 41 minutes and is PG. Welcome back to a brand new HBO Max review here on Max Talk Movies. Today I'm talking Tom and Jerry. Before I get into my non-spoiler thoughts on Tom and Jerry, let me leave a like button. That's the best way to support this channel. Also, comment down below your thoughts. If you've already checked out Tom and Jerry, tell me, is this one of your favorite mixture of live action CGI films that you have seen? Also, is this your favorite or least favorite film of the year? And also, please subscribe and ring that bell for notifications if you are like movie reviews, TV show reviews, streaming platform reviews, and movie rankings. If you like any one of those things, I would highly recommend checking out my YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. So let's get into my review. So I did see the trailer for this film, knew the cast, really knew everything about this film heading in. So I was nervous. This was getting compared to Smurfs and Yogi Bear, all films that are pretty terrible. And this film doesn't completely fall into those traps, but this film certainly is not a great film, and I'll get into my negatives in a bit. The main positives with the film really is just Tom and Jerry. When Tom and Jerry are on screen, they are funny. The cartoonish aspect of them, the sound effects. I didn't really grow up with Tom and Jerry. I've seen a lot of their stuff, but I didn't really I don't have any nostalgia for Tom and Jerry animation, the show. I've seen a lot of episodes, but nothing nostalgic for me. So I came in here knowing the characters, but just not feeling nostalgic. And maybe that's going to be one of my issues with the film. But Tom and Jerry were easily the best parts of the film. They were funny. The only times I was really chuckling during the film was when Tom was doing some crazy sound effect after getting beaten up by Jerry. Their dynamic was once again really on point, and their storyline makes sense. And those were the only times I was really enjoying this film, is that when they were on screen, the film felt like it knew what it wanted to be. Again, the film kind of knows that it's reaching an audience, and that is a kid's audience pretty much only. I'm not sure adults are going to really enjoy this film, and that will lead me to my negatives. While Tom and Jerry are great, and you're like, oh, you probably really like this movie then if the movie called Tom and Jerry are great. Sadly, they are not the main characters of this movie. The main characters of the movie is Chloe Grace Moretz's character, who steals a woman's resume, gets a job at this hotel, and tries to set up a wedding for a couple that is involving Colin Jost. And Michael Pena is someone who works for the hotel, but is kind of pissed off that Chloe Grace Moretz keeps getting these opportunities. And this human storyline is pretty terrible. And you don't care about any of the characters. You're not really rooting for anybody but Tom and Jerry in the story. But the problem is that you'll get spurts of like 5 to 10 minutes of human, and then 2 minutes of Tom and Jerry, and then 5 minutes of humans, and then back to 2 minutes of Tom and Jerry. They're seriously not the main factors. It just feels like a human story that they're trying to tell that happens to include cartoonish animals that include Tom and Jerry. And you just don't. I'm not a huge Chloe Grace Moretz fan, but I'm not going to blame her for this movie or this character, because the writing for these human characters is pretty terrible. I didn't really laugh at anyone. I guess Colin Jost is a character. Colin Jost is a performance that I thought was fine for the movie. I laughed at a couple of his jokes, but the human characters get terrible writing, and I thought they were going to be a subplot of the movie. I thought it would be Tom and Jerry front and center, and the humans come in and out as subplots, but it's kind of the complete opposite. In the first 30 minutes, it really is a Tom and Jerry film, and then the human subplot of this movie becomes the main storyline of the film, and Tom and Jerry are kind of pushed to the sidelines for a lot of the film. But that's what people are coming to see this film for, is Tom and Jerry, not these human characters, not this human storyline about this marriage. And honestly, that is literally the main issue and why this movie does not work for me. The film is also directed by Tim Story, who's a very famous director. He's done, those 2 early 2000s Fantastic Four films. He's done the Think Like a Man franchise, the Ride Along franchise. So I actually didn't know that until I saw the, they showed the credits in the beginning. I was like, wow, Tim Story directed this. Tim Story does not have a great track record. And I think that continues with this. It just feels like such a studio film, but it's weird. While it feels like a studio film just because it's Tom and Jerry, there's so much of a human element in the film that it kind of feels like Tim Story was trying to tell his own story involving Tom and Jerry. Like it felt so convoluted at times. And the film just wasn't as fun as it should have been. When Tom and Jerry are on screen, I think the film is fun, enjoyable. Is it great? Absolutely not, but still exactly what you came for. Those two people, those two characters having some fun on screen. But when you take them off screen for long periods of time for these human characters that are pretty bland, pretty generic, you know exactly where the story is headed. It's cheesy, and the performances are not that great, especially from actors that I really enjoy. Like Michael Pena was unwatchable in this film, not really because of Michael Pena's performance, but while his performance wasn't really that great either way, the character was so unbearable to watch on screen. His character became so forgettable and so you don't really want to watch him on screen at all. The only human character that I kind of wanted to see on screen was Chloe Grace Moretz, and that's someone who's not a huge fan of hers. Other than that, the rest of the human characters were pretty terrible, and even she wasn't that good either. So a really disappointing film that I thought at times knew what it was and was nailing its target audience, but other times tried to have a human element and a actual story that just did not work. But again, I still had enough fun with Tom and Jerry to make this, I guess, not a terrible, terrible, terrible film. So overall, I'm going to give Tom and Jerry a 1.5 out of 5 at 28%. I'm going to give this the same score I gave Bliss, and those are two of my least favorite films of the year so far. So if you have checked out Tom and Jerry, tell me, do you actually like the film? Do you agree with my opinion? Or are you going to check this one out this weekend on HBO Max? Like the video, subscribe. I'm going to do 2 more reviews today. Dickinson Season 2 just wrapped up. I'll give you my review of that. And also the United States versus Billie Holiday as well. I'll be doing that review today. And on Monday, I'll give you my recap and review of 2021 Golden Globes. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys very, very soon.